Hello and welcome to another week of game development. This is going to be a pretty short video because I've been a bit under the weather this week, so I haven't worked on the game much. So before the implementation of the new mob logic that we worked out at the end of last month, I wanted to make it easier to visualize some stuff that I'm going to need. I've updated the mob info window. Before this just had health and speed. It's just the UI that I've updated before. It's probably a little small at the moment because if we go into the game, this is how big it is. So I might need to work on some scaling, perhaps. But this is the general idea. So we've got obviously the health slider at the top here. Strains down. I want to change the background color on that. Then satisfaction. This will probably start low, maybe not a 0, and then increase. Then obviously patience, and when this gets right down to the bottom here, the adventure will try to leave. That's the idea behind that. And then I've just got the basic stats of speed, defense, and attack, so that the player can click on them and get a bit more information about them. I just thought that would be something useful. So yeah, that's all I've managed to get done, unfortunately. The next thing that I'll be doing next week is actually starting to work on implementing the sort of blocks of different logic from the flowchart. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to go about implementing those, so I'll be thinking about that until the next episode. But yep, sorry that's a short video, but you, sometimes it's better just to have a bit of a break rather than forcing yourself to work. So yeah. Hello and welcome to another week of game development. Now, unfortunately, last week I had issues with OBS removing my microphone, so none of the audio was recorded. There wasn't a video last week. I guess, sort of fortunately, I didn't have anything major that I did last week. All I've done is I've connected the information to mobs here. Grab Spectre, and if we go into here, grab one. Okay, so I open this up, you can see it's got all the things here. So I can come in here and tweak the values. So those are now actually connected to something. And then I also added this information that tells you what the mob is currently doing. So when you can click on it, it tells you what it's doing. And the last thing, well, for the hostile mobs, because they don't have these two, they're just set to not applicable at the moment. I might hide bar itself, we'll see. But I've added a snap function as well. So if you drag away but you've still got the thing open and you're wondering what it's doing, you can hit snap and it will snap to it. And with the new system that I've developed with this, you can actually do this with other things as well. So I've got it so you can snap to a chair at the moment. You can see if you drag away and click on it, snaps to it. So that just gives a bit more freedom. Now, as for what we're doing this week, I'm finally going to be trying to actually implement some of this logic now that I've got these things that I can look and just check what they're doing. I'm going to start working on implementing that logic tree that we made. Okay, so we're starting work here. We've obviously got the spawn done and the idle functions already implemented, but to test it, it needs to go places. So the next thing to do is to rework this scan function. Now, previously, I had just been doing a weird thing where I was doing it pixel by pixel because I wanted to avoid doing raycasts, although I'm pretty sure all the calculations and methods I was doing were so poorly optimized that it would probably be slower anyway. So now I've got it to just use raycasts. So if I press B here, over to debug, you'll see we get this arc, and the input parameters I have at the moment are the distance. So this is a view distance of 5, an arc length, which is set to 90 degrees at the moment, and I have a starting angle, which is also 90 degrees. So this is where, oh actually, is it 90 or does I set it 45? Yeah, it's 45 because it should do the target line and then plus and minus a half on each side. At the moment, you can see there's quite a lot. There's actually 90 different raycasts here, one for each angle. I can give it a parameter to reduce that number, so that's something I'll play around with to get the lowest number I need while still having everything be detected. So what I can also show you is I've got a cube here, and if I move it up, then if I come back to game view and press B again, you can see these raycasts are red. These are ones that pass through the collider of the cube. So if I grab the cube and move it over here, and then we go back, I don't think I'm actually clearing the list of red lines, so these red lines are probably going to stay, because I think I forgot to clear that list. So yeah, those need to clear, but as you can see, it detects where it is. So next point of order is to make a list of all the relevant things that it's collided with. Basically, I'll probably just make a tag that is for points of interest, maybe. Do I want to do that, or do I want to just do a component data that contains what type it is? That probably makes more sense, because otherwise I'm going to have to keep going back and getting data off of it. Whereas I think if I just do it here, that will save sorting. I'm not sure, because I also want to get the tile position probably. It's quite complicated because obviously there are fixed objects like tables and chairs and things, and well, the relevant ones would be chests. If it hits a chest, it needs to know what tile that is in. Does it? No, it shouldn't actually, because it can just get the data off of the chest itself. So maybe just storing the type. I don't know. I'll see, but that'll be the next thing. So it'll just be compiling a list of all the relevant entities that it hits, because obviously it doesn't need to know if it hits a wall. Well, I guess it does, but I mean, what I mean to say is that it doesn't matter if the wall itself is hit. Like mob shouldn't care about a wall, really. So yeah, let me see what I can do. Okay, I've made some more progress. So if I do a new raycast, and I've just got some different input parameters here. I think I'm putting them in. I think that's quite the right angle. That's 0 degrees, so it should be different. Start. Oh, here we go. So let's change the start angle to 13. Do it again. There we go. That's rotated. And then the second thing I've done is, well, I've fixed the colors of the rays. But what I've done is that I've done a very simple ranking system for priorities, in that the hue of the redness indicates the priorities, so the duller it is, the further away it is, and all I'm doing is dividing the base priority of each object by the distance away. That's very simple and definitely something to improve on. I think for the time being, that's probably good enough. And the next thing I think I should probably do is try and attach this to a mob. I did change the start position changing. So if I do, is this updating? Oh, that's just the raycasts that are updating from the start position. So I can pick where I want to do it. So if we slide over, let's say here, and then we do like 260, seems about right. And then if we launch another raycast, come back. Why are we up? Oh, wrong coordinate. So we want a bit less than that. We want like 240. Be better. You. So that works. So hopefully connecting that to a mob shouldn't be too much of an issue. I should definitely decrease the amount of raycasts here. That is excessive, I think. I could do at least half of that. But yeah, let's see how I get on with that. Okay, I've made some progress. I have hit a bit of a roadblock though. So if I just move this mob over manually back, and then I've got some options here. Do that. See, it's interacting with, it's colliding with everything, even the ones that are missing are saying they're colliding, which is an issue. So if I actually come back in here, come into the object, and I grab this mob test, and then if I disable its physics shape, so now if we move this around there, and now if we mess around with these, you can see it's properly detecting them. And that seems all well and good, because you could say, oh well, it's detected them, so that's fine. But the issue is if the mob has its physics shape disabled, then what happens if it interacts with one that it doesn't? Let's move one of these out of the way so we can easier. Do that one and one I want. Which one is the? Ah, there we go. Right, so if we now move this cube into here, and then we trigger the scan to go again, you can see it doesn't get detected anymore, which is an issue. So I'm gonna think about ways around this. I've got a couple of ideas, but I'm gonna do a bit of research and then play around because I think this is gonna take a while to figure out with messing around with. So, yep, that's where I'm going to end this week. Some decent progress, I guess. I'm happy with the direction it's going, and this is just a much better solution than I had before. And it's kind of silly when I think about it, because one of the main reasons I was doing it with the working on the tile-based system before was so I could have traps that are in the ground. But I realized all I have to do is add a collision box that protrudes from the ground to a trigger, which then the mob could detect with a raycast, and it would need that anyway, because if the mob moves into that trigger, it should then activate the trap. So I was a bit short-sighted on my part. Hello, and welcome to another week of game development. Now, last week I left you talking about fixing issues with intersecting with the object that's giving the collider, and I've been working on that, but I've only just noticed it's been taking a lot longer than I thought it would, so I thought it made sense to give an update midway, just so there's some content in this video. Yeah, I said that I had multiple ideas for solutions. The one I'm going to go with is this one, which is the first one I thought of. It's not as good as the other one, but I know I can make this one work. And this one's very simple. It's just each mob, you just add an offset of where you want to project. So at the moment, we're technically taking position of this mob. So if I slide this over and then force it to scan again, you can see it slides that over. Now, currently the actual offset isn't fully implemented correctly. It's just a fixed position for the scriptal object, and then I need to actually pass through the object's current rotation, because I'm not doing that at the moment. But once that's done, it'll work fine. Now, the other option was what I actually wanted to do, and that was to make a separate object attached to each mob that would just be connected, and as it walked around, when it intersected, it would add on to a tally. Like, well, this would be disabled, and then when you want to scan, it'll be enabled, and then it runs through the collider, checks through all the collisions, and says, yep, this is how many collisions we've got. But I just couldn't figure out how to get that working with entities. Because they use a different thing, they use these uh, 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 this has got physics collider. Yeah, they use physics shapes and then they're converted to physics colliders and such. And I just can't work out how to get the collision interaction information from that at the moment. I might come back to it later and have another go, but it's going to take a long time. So yeah, I'm just going to keep working away and get this fully implemented. Okay, that wasn't actually that bad to figure out. I just had to refresh my trigonometry. So as you can see, it's now detecting, and this is just the offset point that you give it. Yep. So the main disadvantage with this that led me to think about doing it the other way is that this is obviously only working in a singular plane at the moment. So if there's a wall here and there's something up here, it won't actually see it. So there's one solution to that, which would be to have an angle and just pass through. But I think, well, maybe I will do that. But I think another way to do that is just have such things such as ladders, which don't even exist yet. They would be a higher priority target. So if a mob saw, it might look up. Then get into weird things where if they're at the top of the ladder and they look down. So I might end up doing that where you just pass it a tilt and it will just run through the same thing again. But on so the next thing that I'm going to do, which I may hopefully should have done to be in this video, but that will be optimizing the amount of rays needed, because I don't need this many, and I think I should be able to work out a way to make it more optimized. Now, obviously, there's probably some really clever thing you can do where if it's hitting, you can go a certain distance over. But what I'm just going to do is I'm going to enable the grid. I just leave turned off. Wait, rotate this. Don't know why off, but I have this grid that's been here for ages, and I'm just going to do some tests where I do different view distances and view angles, and then I'm going to manually mark out which tiles it's hitting, and then see if I can work out an optimal function to decide the amount of passes it needs, which I think I should be able to do because I was essentially doing that earlier with when I was just using tiles. So yeah, hopefully I get that done. If I do, I just thought about it, and one of the problems I have is I never know when to end the video, because if I start working something, I don't know if it's going to be finished. So I'm just going to do the outro here. But I think what I'm going to do next month is I'm going to try and do it a bit differently. So I've been doing this thing where I say what I'm going to do, and then I give you updates as I do it. That can make it a bit awkward for development, because like you get in a rhythm, you then have to pause. I give the updates, and then I have to go back into it and doing stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on it throughout the week, and then at the end of the week, I'll just go through what I've done and any issues I had, and I'll just try it for next month and see if I like it and see if that streamlines it. Hopefully I should be a bit more productive, because this month really get all that much done at all. In fact, you could argue we're further behind than we were. But yeah, so that's why I'm ending this month, because even if I did do the other thing, it will have been before this. So that's it for this month. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.